Good evening, everybody. Should I deliver this topic in dual language? Okay, good. Dual language, eh? Okay. So there is nobody that outside of the Malaysia or foreigner in our participation list. Okay, space management, understanding building performance. Okay, I think space management. To understand the space management or to understand the building performance is actually related to understanding about how we manage space. Before we can start to do the building performance analysis or building performance rating or the result of the performance of your building. So the fundamental matters that you need to establish is the space. Okay, let's look on it. Okay, this three question that we created for today event, today webinar. First is what is building performance. Second is what are key data needed for effective space management. And what is the outcome of the well-performed building? So this is the three questions that we identified that is good to explain how can we achieve or how we can how can we create an understanding about the building performance. Okay. First, need to answer what is building performance. Okay. So from the research or from the literature, I think this literature is quite old, 2005. Maybe there is other people that are updating this definition. Building performance is from Prizer and Scrum in 2005, mentioning about a building performance is a process that influences the value of a building by assessing how building work and the effectiveness toward the building user. So normally building performance is measured by looking at these four items or four criteria or four elements. First is about technical capability on managing the building or related to the building, or the technical capability the building have. Second is technological environment. Whether it is an old building, whether what are the technological element that already implemented in the building, whether it's a building in the village, or we call it a green building, or maybe a heritage building. And the third one is about business processes that involve in the building. Maybe the building is being created for hospital. There is a lot of processes related to the health, medicals. Maybe the building is being built for the offices, especially government offices. And maybe the building processes that involve on teaching, like to deliver knowledge, like the university. Okay. And last but not least is the individual involved in the building. So this like if we have a university, there's a process related to delivering knowledge or deliver knowledge or sharing knowledge. And maybe the individual involved is maybe a student, a lecturer, or the researcher, the administrator of the buildings, So these are the people that involve, the individual that involved in the building. So when you want to do measurement about the building performance, so at least use these four elements or four criteria. Or you can base on these four and then start to come up with the equation. How can you come up with the results in order to analyze the building performance? Okay. So whoever want to ask question, whether you type it at the chat or feel free to on your mic and speak. So it's an open discussion actually. But of course related to this topic lah, not related to our politics. Okay, let's start about building performance. Normally, we want to know how well is the building is being used. So and how well the building is being used normally is related to the how we utilize the building. And when you talk about how we utilize the building, so we go little bit deeper. We might look it, maknanya we look it on the how the building or the spaces in the building is being utilized, whether it's fully utilized, not been fully utilized, or not even been utilized. Okay. And when we'll need more or less building, okay, because of this is the equation that, or maybe the question that came out, are you or do you require additional building, or do you feel your building is actually too large, and because of that you need to pay extra cost for maintaining it. I mean, this is like these two things that always become the question, or the relationship between the question and also the building performance that you want to measure. Okay. When you talk about these two things, it's always relate to the data. Only then you can give the result. Only then you can answer it. How well is the building is being used, for example, or is we are fully utilized. What does it mean fully utilized? From what, from 9 to 5, your building is always full. Or how about this during COVID-19? Are you utilizing your space? Are you utilizing the building? So when you say you are not fully utilized or you are fully utilized, how is the impact to the maintenance activity to your building? Are they the same? Are they not the same? And for example, during COVID-19, are you still uh, maintain the building like normal, not like during COVID-19 pandemic situation? So this is a question that sometimes we cannot answer it, until we do the survey, we analyze the data, and then only we can see that how is actually our building performance, how is actually our space being utilized, whether we require more space or we are not require more space. Okay. Then another question. What are the key data are needed for effective space management? What are the key data that needed for effective space management? So anybody would like to give some thought about it, or some ideas? What are the key data needed for effective space management? Anybody would like to open the mic and give some thought about it? What are the data that required? Nobody? Or shy? Or you can even type your answer or your thought at the chat, and I can read the chat while doing the talking. Raja, what do you think about the key data needed for effective space management? Do you have any idea about it?
Okay. Hello, boss.
Yeah.
Hello, Chicharai. Okay, I think maybe the example of several key data that required for for calculation of body performance. Firstly, the asset itself or equipment,
Okay.
and secondly, we have to check about the value of space size and the amount of total space that occupied. And third, that I think we have to check as well about the parameters of job that we need to sustain or to evaluate. Let's say about the PPM, the total PPM per month, and so on. I think.
Okay. Good thought for it. So how about Jeffrey from Jakarta? Do you have any idea about what are the key data needed for space management? Any idea, Jeffrey? No idea. Oh, it's okay. Okay, let's see what I put there. Okay. Key data for effective space management. Before I answer it, how do I measure a performance of the building? Okay, so what mentioned by International Facility Management Association has established a convention for measuring building efficiency rate by comparing usable area and rentable area. Okay. So when you talk about usable area, rentable area, it's always about the size of the space. It's always about the sizes of the space, the value of the area, So they relate back to, one is the physical, second is the dollar and cent, the value, the size and the value. Okay, this always be this is the key data. So, but step number one to do that, to establish this key data is that to define fundamental space data. What is actually fundamental space data? Jeffrey said prioritize utilization of the space. Yep, it's good. But the key data for effective space management is first is that to define the fundamental space data. So what is the step? What is the fundamental space data? Okay, so this is basic things that normally this information available in the drawing, and some of it is not available in the drawing, but the information is available in the drawing is not being displayed. Some of it is available in the drawing but is being displayed. Some of it is available in the drawing but it's not being displayed because you can't find it. I mean, by looking in the drawing, you can't find the answer, but you need to do something at the drawing to get the answer. For example, space name, space ID, normally you can find it in the drawing. Okay, there is a space name, there is a name of the room, there is an ID code, or there's a code of the room, code of the space inside the drawing physically. Visually, you can see it. You can easily pinpoint the building name, the space name, the space ID by just looking at the drawing, the 2D drawing or floor plan, because they already put it there. And it's matter whether they are putting it correctly, in sequence, detail, or covering all angle of all area of the space that they have in the drawing, or sometimes they are just focusing on the important area. Okay, and the rest of this information, like the external gross area, the internal gross area, the service area, the vertical penetration area, the occupiable area and non-occupiable area, you need to define it by yourself. If you are a space manager, and this is the things that you need to establish. For example, service area. What does it mean, the service area? This is something to do that the area that you require somebody to serve it, or all the area that you require people to service it. Or maybe the service area is only required special people to serve it. So it's up to you to define what are the service area, where is the service area. Okay. Vertical penetration area. Okay. Who knows what is the meaning of the vertical penetration area? It's something new for somebody that's not familiar with managing space. What is the vertical penetration area? Can anybody answer me at the chat? Tengku Fauzan, do you know what is vertical penetration area? Just asking.
No, don't.
No idea.
Yes, no idea.
Okay. How about Rini? Do you know, Rini, have you came across any vertical penetration area? No idea? We shy to talk, we can answer it at the webs. Okay, Ikin Jamil mentioned area yang close to the wall macam stair. Betul ke? Oh, that's correct. Okay. Elevator shaft. Yes, that's correct. You know, tangga, apa? Uh, maybe electrical riser. This is all we call it vertical penetration area, and because they penetrate from floor to floor, and so tangga, floor apa tu, a staircase, you know, that is a vertical penetration area. Elevator shaft definitely, and the penetrate wall floor to floor. And okay, so occupiable area and non-occupiable area. Can we declare the electrical riser as a occupiable area? This another question ni. What does it mean occupiable area? Can we declare or define electrical riser as a occupiable area? How about Ikin Jamil? Can we define electrical riser as occupiable area? So occupiable area, normally we can assign people to occupy the area. I mean, to stay in the area. Like is the meeting room is an occupiable area? That's another question. You know, occupiable area is the meeting room is an occupiable area. Anybody can answer me? The meeting room, is it a occupiable area or not? Let me check who is expert in space management in this group. Maybe I can ask Mr. Hazli. You know, occupiable area. Hazli, what do you think? Occupiable area. Can meeting room be assigned as occupiable area?
Can.
Can
You can put people there, and he can do the daily routine in this meeting room.
Okay. So it's mean that the space, the space data is up to us to define it. Whether you want to declare it, this area is occupiable or not, it's up to us to define. That's why they call it define fundamental space data. So you define which area is vertical penetration, which area the occupiable area, which area is non-occupiable. Okay. And another things that some interesting is that about the internal gross area and external gross area. So internal gross area, normally they call it gross floor area, is it? Hazli, is it internal gross area also equivalent to gross floor area?
Internal gross area is very specific to the internal wall.
So we cannot declare it as a gross floor area, is it?
Gross floor area, I think it depends on the organization that define on this gross floor area.
Yeah. Okay. Again,
Because certain organization will use the external as the gross area, or some certain organization will use the external area surrounding the building also part of the gross area. So I think it's very much depends on the organizations and also the type of buildings.
okay. So it's again, we call it define, So we need, the important thing is that you need to define your space data. So when you define your space data, so your calculation will be according to what you define. So some people, is it okay, your definition compared to other people different because different building, different way of doing things, different organization want to focus, so they can have a different definition about how they define their space data. So there is a guide for you to follow, but again, it's up to your organization to define it. There is a guide. There is a guide, but it depends on how you want to use the guide to manage your space. Okay. Second is that to generate space management statistic. So this is the second steps, to create the key data for effective space management is that to generate space management statistics. First is that you want to identify your rentable area, usable area. Then you need to do a ratio, rentable versus usable area. They call it RU ratio. And then another thing is that usable versus a rentable area. So this is like you need to generate your space management statistic. From here, you know which one that you are strong, whether you're rentables or you're usable. So when you have this statistic, then we can continue to the next steps. Like then we can start using or start thinking about the integrated workplace management systems. And you start to have it like a mobile apps to help you uh, to analyze this space data that you have. Okay, I would like to share some of the way they calculate rentable area. Rentable area define area in the building that is leased to a tenant, which indicates the total income deduct minus producing area of the building. It means that rentable area, it means that vertical area minus the internal gross area. So this is some of the calculation that when you want to come up with the rentable area. And so and some of this reference they will be available in how you want to calculate rentable area. This is the basis that we use. Rentable area mean that vertical penetration area. It mean that you cannot I mean the staircase is, you are not renting the staircase. So then you need to calculate a vertical penetration area. If rentable area is at vertical penetration area minus the internal cross area, then you get rentable area. I mean the second, usable area. Vertical penetration area plus surface area minus the internal gross area. So then you can about rentable area. Then the ratio, I mean, this is easy lah to calculate. Rentable area divide by usable area, you get the ratio. Okay, this is the way to calculate of some calculation that related to the can you come up with some of the building performance reports. Usable area, the total, the actual occupiable area of the floor which can house furniture and personnel. Okay, so you have the gross floor area, then you deduct and then it's mean that vertical plus service area minus the internal gross area, then you get the rentable area. Any question related to this calculation? This mathematics, little bit mathematics tonight. And the ratio normally that show how well the building is designed. If you are talking about rental versus usable area, and ratio that show how well the rentable space are being used is that usable versus rentable area. This is talking about efficiency rates. Okay, any question? Maybe some of you confused, or maybe this new for you. Anybody would like to ask anything? No? No question? Okay, fine. Move on. Okay, this is the normally when you have all this data, we show the data like this. So this is the size of the floor. Okay, like 49,000 square feet. This is the efficiency rate ratio. Okay, you see that we have every floor information, like the area of each floor, floor by floor. Like for example, SRL B1. This means that basement one, the gross internal gross floor area is 48. How we get this? Because we get this information from the drawing. Like I say that some of the information you can't see in the drawing. Some of it you need to measure. You need to, if you have AutoCAD, you need to do some activity to your AutoCAD to come up with the size of the space area. For example, if you familiar with AutoCAD, you can do the activity like polyline or PL, and then you start to digitize the area of the rooms, and then make sure it close back to the starting point, and then you can get the size of the room, the size of the space. And of course, you also need to make sure that your normally the drawing is a scale, and you can get the right scale when you do a digitization by using polyline activity, and you can get the size of the spaces, and then you start to collect all the information, each room by room, each area by area, and then you start to add, and you get the lump sum of the floor plan, lump sum of the data, and that is the size of the floor. Okay, they become, maybe I can call it, there is a gross floor area, or maybe you can call it the when you digitize it, maybe you declare it's an internal gross area. And so, and from that also, when you digitize the staircase, the lift lobby, or the elevator shaft, or the telecom riser, electrical riser, so we can say that we can you have to make sure that to add in as part of the vertical penetration area, because later on you need to use these figures. So of course, you need to do a lot of Excel things and to come up with this kind of graph. Because I have a system in my organization that can easily do this while doing the polyline. Of course, I get a beautiful graph like this. But you also can do it in Excel, and no issue. I think not difficult things to do. The only thing that you need to do, the tedious thing that you need to do or perform is that to digitize the floor plan. So that's the only things that very I call it remeh, or leceh, or rumit. So or tedious, to digitize each space by space, and then you need to add back to the Excel. You need to type in the Excel, and then you need to give a room numbering or room names, in order to collect this summary. And in order for you to come out with this graph. So, but because I have a beautiful system like Akibas, so I can do it easily. So then I can simply get this, I can ask the system to easily calculate what is the efficient rates. So I can also get the RU being calculated automatically. Now, for this building SRL code, I can get the efficiency rate of the building is 90%, and RU ratio is 1.11. It means this building is very efficient. Okay, this is we call it building performance reports. And so, is there anything that related to service yet? No. Is there anything related to the technology yet? Okay, this one part. Oops, sorry. Okay, this is like they calculate floor by floor, and then from here we also can see the performance or efficiency rate for each floor. Which floor is most efficient, which is less efficient, and you also can see the RU ratio and the usable area. pretty much the same, maybe different, like 1 or 2%. Rentable area also is almost the same, 48%, 48,000 square feet, 47. It's not much different, but this is you can see the difference because SR04 efficiency rate compared to SRRF, because this is a roof, 83.11. This is a roof. Even though the rentable area is the same, but the efficiency rate there is lesser. Okay, then you can tabulate it to the graph like floor by floor. Okay. Can you see after you see all the graphs, then you start to ask what is the outcome of a well-performed building? What is the outcome of the well-performed building? So well-performed buildings is normally increased work productivities definitely, and fulfill occupant needs. So I mean, when you increase productivity, fulfill occupant needs. So definitely it will increase the organizational profits. And and the important thing is that they support the organization core business. The space support the organization core business. That's a good well-performed buildings. Right? Oops. So I think that's all about the slide. Okay. So any question related to this building performance? Any question related to this building performance? Anybody would like to on your mic and ask question about this building performance? Cik Azan, any question, Cik Azan? Or maybe Muhammad Rizal Ismail? Rini, any question? Maybe related to your activity about this space management building performance later on? No? No question? Everything clear? Or everybody confused about this today topic, or is it too heavy? How about Ikin? Any question, Ikin? Any question you would like to raise about today topic?
Hello.
Yeah.
No, it's all clear. Thank you for the explanation. But I have one question. I know that the key data for effective space management is about size and the area. And then is it employee data also is one of the key data for effective space management?
Yeah. Actually, employee data is also part of the space, is part of the data being required for effective space management. Because in order for you to get a good result on your survey, you need to survey to the individual that utilize the space or occupy the space, and so otherwise you don't have any people to answer to your question when you conduct a survey. So that's why it's important for you to update or to keep the information of the space or the user of the space. Another thing is that because the user of the space also use the asset inside the space. So effective space management is not just uh, you have not just the information about the user, but also if you can get the information about the maintenance activity related to the space, like the cleaning activity, how frequent you clean the rooms, or how frequent we do the maintenance in the space. So because maybe you have a rentables information, you collect the incomes information, but against you want to calculate also the cost for you to maintain the building, and the cost for you to maintain the spaces, you know. Sometimes the spaces is you can't rent it because it's a lobby, okay, but you, I mean, the lobby maybe normally is a shared area, and you already calculated, and then you already pass the cost to each of the spaces or each of the tenants of your building, and because it's a shared area, you know. But uh, even though nobody using or utilize the lobby, but you need to maintain the lobby uh, every day, you know, and you have to make sure the lobby is clean, well, I mean, well groomed, you know. So sometimes the cost of the maintenance the lobby is very high. It's not just related to maintenance, but maybe electricity, you know, maybe the air conditioning systems, you know. So, and if you are, I mean, if you are operating like a joint management body, you know, so you have a shared area like the lobby, the each of the shared I think the shared area or each floor, you know, there is a cost that you need to share among the tenant, you know. Sometimes the tenant are not utilizing the building, but they need to pay the high maintenance costs because it's a strata management building, you know. Sometimes the cost of the shared area is very high, even though they are not using the building, you know. So that's why I said that the space information, the information that not just a user, and but also the other things like the maintenance information, the electricity bills, you know, related to that spaces, you know, is important for you to keep track. And so did I
Okay.
answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
May I know Eileen from where? Sorry, Ikin from where?
From Kajang.
From Kajang.
Yes.
Adib, do you have any question, Adib? What space management?
So far, so good, boss.
Okay, we have a question from Facebook. Beside the rentable use, is there any other way to utilize space for organization profit? Uh, what else? Who can answer this? Beside for rentable use, is there any other way to utilize space for organization profit? Okay. Sometimes, I mean, when we talk about rentable to use, because people want to use it. How about rentable for advertisement? Okay, maybe we just focusing on the we just focusing on the horizontal floor. How about vertical floor? Sorry. How about vertical space? Maybe we just focusing about the horizontal space. How about the vertical space? Can we make money from the vertical space? Can we make money on vertical space? You know? Anybody would like to make money on vertical space? You know, and so and that's also part of the way of to create another spaces, the wall, not just the floor, but the wall that can make money, you know. And the wall that can make money, maybe you can put the equipment, some equipment on the wall, like the LCD panel, you know, uh, the video wall at the, and then you start not just rental the horizontal floor, but also the vertical floor. You also can make money, you know, and not just putting equipment, but also sometimes, you know, people paint the wall, you know, paint the wall with some advertisement, some picture, you know. So and from there you can also generate a new income, you know. So that's actually fully utilized. You not just utilize the horizontal space, but also the vertical space, you know. Why not, you know? So anything can make money and is legal, and it's nothing wrong with it, you know, especially at the lobby area, you know. So we can put uh, the LCD panel at the wall and then start to running the advertisement, you know, and then can make profit, can make the organization profit. So that is, I hope I answer the question from Facebook. Anybody? Shafiq, any question from Facebook?
So
Any
far, that's the only one.
That's the only one. Okay, thank you for the question. Anybody would like to ask, or any would like to share something about the space management? Sakina, any question about space management? Okay, maybe because of the we've been doing this space management activity from construction. I mean, from the early days of the construction, we've been given the drawing by the architects, and we will start our activity by start to measure each, or start to build up information of each of spaces in the drawing, and then we build a table, and from the table we get the information, the accurate information about the sizes of the space, and from that we give back the report to the architects, mentioning that we identified there is a discrepancy of the size that you build in the drawing compare the contracts that been given, that been signed for you to construct. So it's always become a situation, the information that we capture exceeded the contract figures. This always become our finding, from, I think, for last 15 years that we are doing this activity. This is always our finding, that we identified that the spaces in the drawing compared to the contract that they signed has discrepancy. Why it happened? Why it become discrepancy? Is because of the definition, duplication area, space that is not being defined well. Maybe they just go on the 30%, 70% of the gross floor area when they plot it, when they start drawing it. So then when we get this work, get these tasks, and then we give back the reports, and there is a discrepancy, and we can even can tell them where is the space that actually not supposed to be. Where is the mistakes. That's the good part that we are doing. We can determine where is the extra space compared to the contract. And sometimes they want to correct it, sometimes they just ignore it. So depends on who they are. But if I will like to correct it, because later on, when you have extra space, mean that you have extra service area. It means you have extra external gross area. It means maybe you have extra rentable area, but maybe you don't have extra rentable area. Maybe you have extra non-occupiable area. You doesn't know. You only know when you start operate it. But the good part is that when you know before you construct, then you can make a right decision. You can make a good planning. Because sometimes, because of the extra spaces that you have, maybe you put extra equipment in that extra spaces that is not part of the bigger element to make profit. And like parking, yeah, solar panel, parking, correct. Flat roof, solar panel, if you talk about flat roof, solar panel, you talk about flat roof. I think this is related to the question. Flat roof, solar panel, flat roof. Maybe you can create a base station for the telecommunication tower. And maybe your building is tallest building in that particular area. It's become a good spot for the telecommunication tower to rent the space there. So flat wall, flat wall, but the vertical wall, we can put the billboard advertisement, you know. So these are the things that can generate income. Okay, go back to the activity that we have. I mentioned just now. Extra space that we can't determine, extra space that on the early of the contracts you don't bother or you ignore the impacts to the organization because maybe you are just the builders, you don't bother about how the user want to use the space, you know. So then this extra space are going to impact the contract, and then it will be continue, it's permanent, you know? This problem will become permanent, you know. What happened is this space is not part of the contract, but you need to carry this space or you ignore this space, and the end user also didn't know about it, and then they start hiring the cleaner, they start hiring the people that maintaining the building with the old figure that you not going to correct it because of the extra space, you know. So what happened to this maintenance team? So forever they are actually maintaining the spaces. For example, if they want to calculate the chemical that they need to use to clean the area, forever the chemical calculation or the product that they want to use to clean the area are not enough, you know, because of the space information is wrong. Space information versus the actual constructed area is wrong. What happened is that the extra space that you build require electricity, require air conditioning systems to use at that area. What happened to the electricity bills, you know? So there will be extra. And what happened is that they're calculating the spaces to design the air conditioning systems based on the wrong information. So the air conditioning calculation system is still, I mean, forever is not enough to cool the rooms, to make the room according to the specification that you're supposed to be. So these are the things that always related to the space, you know. Okay, so it's been for me, the space information is very, very critical, and we need to make sure that we write in the first time, you know. Otherwise, forever we make mistake. I mean, for life, you know, if we are not correcting this space information. Okay. Any other question?
Sharin, we have another question from Facebook.
Okay. What will you say the best minimum space percentage for a building to consider well performed? Wow. How to answer this? I don't know how to answer. What will you say the best minimum space percentage for a building to consider well performed? Actually, minimum percentage they know. Okay. 80% I can say that is minimum. 70% people can say that is minimum also, because it depends on the type of building actually. You know, if the hotel 80% 80% utilization, 80% performance, building performance or space performance, they start selling the hotel. You know? Or maybe I mean they set a minimum 80% percentage. You know, is actually to give the right minimum answer. Space percentage for building to consider well performed. It depends on the building owner want to put this a requirement to your contract. What are the space? Because you need to run a lot of analysis based on the fundamental space data. Anybody would like to give comment about this question? Adawiyah, anything that you would like to comment? What is the best space? Minimum space?
The best minimum space percentage for a building to consider well performed. It is depend to the type of the building. It depend the function of the building and also the objective of the organisation. This must be follow the objective of the organisation itself.
Okay, so it's no firm answer. I mean, it's no firm figure, you know,
Yes,
because
yes.
if the bus station, you know, what is the minimum percentage of the building to consider well performed, you know. So bus station. But for me, if the bus station, of course, I want to make sure the 100%, then you only will well perform, because everybody in the bus station, I mean, will get benefit if that the building is well performed kan. That's why the minimum answer ni is very apa, depend on the organisation to set the contracts lah. Sometimes if the low season like this COVID-19, I don't know what is the percentage during COVID-19. What is the minimum percentage that we can accept? We can accept this well performed building.
Yeah, it's also maybe different with a session season. Also effect maybe the different season, maybe different the percentage.
Yeah, maybe the hotel in Redang Island, or maybe the hotel or the hotel in the pulau where in Terengganu there, it's only like there's a monsoon season and they cannot operate, so then the performance, the building performance impact to their reports. Okay, anything, any question?
Maybe I want to ask about the effective space management that is lead to the sustainability of facility management. What is the relationship with space management with facility management?
Oh, okay. Like I said, the fundamental of the building, space is the fundamental of the information in the building. Okay. When we talk about FM contract, normally they are always tied with the space information. They say, what are the space? What are the size of the building? 1,000 square feet, 1 million square feet, So this is very simple analogy. Okay. The FM contracts tie with the space management from the last figure of the total figure of the spaces, the size of the building. And the size of the building is they always measure in the gross floor area, or maybe GFA, and in terms of the size maybe in square feet. And then they start calculating, uh, for cleaning I can put 20 cent per square feet, for electricity or for mechanical, maybe I can put depends if the building got many mechanical component, I will put maybe higher percentage on the per square feet, it always go back to space. Yeah, it's always go back to the size, and but if we really do the mapping and the contract figure, the space size, and the utilization in the space, or the asset in the space, and actually you can get the right price, uh, right price of the maintenance contract, But if we start to do a rule of thumb, and you can win some, maybe you lose some, so because you don't know what is the size of the space correctly, So the best way is that not just the spaces, but also the asset that tied with the space, There's another element. Maybe we talk later how can we relate this asset to the space, but today we talk about this gross floor area, we talk about rentable units, So we talk about the fundamental of space data. Okay. So if you ask me what are the relationship, this is the fundamental of the facility management activity, the space management. But normally people forgot about the space management because they just focus on the mechanicals, the electricals, they just focus about the asset, and because when they put the calculation about the asset, maybe they forgot about the spaces, and this is the always be the situation in the Asia regions. But people in Europe, people in the state, they always whatever it is, they go back to the space management uh, in relate to the facility management aspects. And the fundamental of the space management is the space data. space fundamental of space data, you need to establish a space policy and how to number the room, how to name the ID, how to calculate things inside your space, and how you want to define this activity, and later on it become a data that you want to compare with the cost of managing the building, compare to the cost of maintaining the building, compare the cost that the asset that you have, and maybe the hospital building that equipped with very expensive equipment, maybe they call it high tech buildings, maybe the cost of maintaining it versus a space per square feet is high, compared to a parking space. And maybe parking space easy to generate income. And maybe you can also use this space management to offer different rate of parking, different rate of parking lot. If you park at the ground floor or basement, is cheaper. Ground floor is expensive, So if you start calculating this, people will climb up because you want to looking for a cheaper parking space, So this become a new way of selling the parking lot, And so then forever your parking lot at the ground floor, nobody want to park there. They will park at the higher floor, and from there you can you can start to utilize every floor of your parking lot of your buildings, and maybe you manage the space, and if you are a tenant of the building, you are not a guest, you parking at the lower ground or upper ground, only the guests parking at the ground floor because they are not parking for permanent, they come and go. Then you make your security control is easier, otherwise you ask your visitor to park at the basement of your area and increase the high risk of security threat. This is something to do. Something to look for a new way of managing things related to space management. And because of I'm a tenant, I'm the owner of the building, I require to park at the ground floor. Fine, you pay extra. So, because in order for you, maybe your building is highly secured building, or maybe you want, there is an issue of security on the area. So you want to improve the security management, by from the parking, from the space also you can manage that. Okay, I think it's almost 9, I think. Any question? To talk about space management is, I think we are at the fundamental matters, space data, space name, fundamental how to calculate how to generate the space management statistic, and later on this statistic can be used for your activity towards to integrated workplace management system. And from there, maybe you can start utilizing your mobile apps, creating another mobile apps for your space survey or for your audits of the spaces. And I share about how to calculate rentable area, usable area, and then this is the way we show the data about the space and how we can come up with the efficiency rates about the buildings, and you calculate that. Okay, any question? And this, like the result of the well-performed building is increased work productivity, fulfill occupant needs, support organization core business, and also increase organization profits. Anything else? Anything else that you would like me to talk about the space, or we are okay? Shafiq, any other questions, Shafiq?
We have no question from Facebook, but maybe we're open to one more in the Zoom participant.
Welcome, Siti Rahayu. Okay. And any question? If we don't have any question, thank you very much for joining us during this session. And we know that tomorrow we are going to have MCO again. Maybe the day after tomorrow, maybe tomorrow night, we are MCO. And hope that everybody stay safe. Uh, we, Maybe some of you need to start to work from home again. Maybe some of you already get a instruction to come to office on January, and now need to work from home again. And we also in Microcorp need to relook back uh, about our arrangement to work during MCO. And of course, we still open. We are going to run another session, and we try to have every week. We want to touch base about each topic, simple topic about space management. We will continue about this topic next week. Maybe we touch base on detail about the space management, and maybe I think our action team will share to you about these topics we conducted on every Monday. Hope this topic benefit to all of you, and thank you very much for be with us tonight. And if you can fill the quick survey form in our link that's in the chat, feel free to sign on to the survey, and hope to see you again next week. And till then, very good night. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah.
Thank you, Mr. Sharin. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Sharin. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you everyone to join us.